Hey guys, welcome to the Gray State and this episode of the Rounds Up. I think we have another good one on tap for today, and there's some pun there again. I gotta stop doing that. It's a bad joke. I get it. So today we're gonna be taking a look at another one of Hornady's critical defense rifle rounds. This time it's the little heavier 73 grain version of the FTX. You guys, for those of you that don't know, I just published the 55 grain FTX version, and it kind of turned out to be a frangible round. And that's why I was making that tap joke. So anyways, today we're gonna be taking a look at the 73 grain version. And before I get started, I do want to say thanks to Brett and the team over at ZX Guns in Fort Wayne, Indiana, because of their work, I was able to get a bunch of these rounds and get back out to the range as quickly as I did. They were able to get me a bunch of these rounds in a couple of days. So I really appreciate it. So I want to say thank you to those guys. And also on that note too, I want to be completely clear here and say that I 100% paid for all the rounds. I do not get it compensated. I do not get endorsements, or I do not get free rounds or anything like that. This is purely me, and I'm going to give you the straight story regardless of what these rounds do. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. I'm trying not to do this joke, but what's on tap for today is that we're going to take a quick field look at the round here. I'm going to show you guys some of the specifics. We're going to go over it very quickly. And then I'm going to give you a rundown on the boomstick, the old rig that we're going to be using for today. No surprise, it's the same one that I use all the time. I'm trying to keep it consistent, apples to apples for everyone. And then we're going to do the same 3 tests. It's going to be 10 rounds past the LabRaDAR, so we're going to chronograph this round. Then I'm going to send 5 rounds downrange at 25 yards, which I've basically deemed to be the max distance that you would be using for a personal defense round. And then finally, I'm going to do 2 shots into ballistic gelatin. Again, it's not going to be ordnance gel. It's going to be clear synthetic gelatin. That's 10% FBI calibrated. First one's going to be into bare gelatin from 10 feet. And then the second one is going to be through 4 layers of denim to mimic the loose clothing test per FBI protocol. And then we're going to break it down and we're going to review everything in a little bit more detail from the indoors. So basically that's it. I want to move fast and furious today. This is going to be a fast follow-up. Hang on, get ready, grab a drink. We're rolling. Okay guys, let's get started today. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take a quick look in the field here at some of the specifics of this round before we get started. So very quickly, this is the critical defense rifle from Hornady. It's a new for 2018 round. This is a 223 Remington cartridge. This is the 73 grain FTX version, and of course the FTX stands for the flexible tip that they've added here, which aids in expansion. It's been borrowed from their critical defense and critical duty lines on the pistol side. Other notable features of this round is it shares the same nickel coated brass casing that the 55 grain FTX has that we looked at in an earlier video. Hornady claims that it basically adds for low light identification in chamber checks, and it also adds some additional lubricity for feeding out of a magazine, so they say. But those are some of the features there. Other specifics about this round. Again, this is the 73 grain version. It's got a published velocity of 2,790 feet at the muzzle. And looking at their website, it also has a ballistic coefficient of 0.260, which is markedly better than the 0.175 of the 55 grain FTX. Okay, that's about it. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the rifle I'm going to be using today, and then we're going to get shooting. Okay guys, you're looking at the standard rig that we're going to be using today for the critical defense rifle 73 grain FTX. It's my Daniel Defense DD M4V11. It does have the stock barrel in it. It's a 16-inch 1-in-7 twist cold hammer forged with a government profile. It has a medium gas on it. Things that really don't matter for the performance of what we're doing today. It's got an 80M optic mount with a Leupold VXR Patrol, and it's a 3x9x40 with a full duplex reticle. And then the trigger I've changed out from the stock mil-spec 1 to a Geissele Super 3 gun. And then you've got an Atlas bipod up front. So basically, that's it. All right, let's have some fun. Okay, here we go. 10 rounds past the LabRaDAR. This round's got a published velocity of 2,790 feet at the muzzle. My target's down 25 yards, but the purpose of this one right now is we're just getting the speed data. All right, here we go. .2603. 2647, 2604, 2557, 2601, 2605, 2594, 2604, 2621 on shot 9, 2623 on shot 10. Okay, let's get a quick recap on our totals. Alright guys, I don't know if you can see this, but I'm using my phone app. So there is Bluetooth available now for the LabRaDAR, in case you didn't know. So the average speed was 2606, the highest was 2647, low was 2557, the extreme spread of 90, with a standard deviation of 22.9. So, you know, not match quality, but not too bad either. Alright, that concludes the bullet time portion of the testing today. Now we're going to move on to some accuracy and precision at 25 yards. All right, gang, we're going to keep moving on this. I'm going to do 5 rounds downrange at 25 yards from the prone position again for a nice consistent base to measure the actual consistency of this round. I do have my GoPro down there, so we'll be able to see the results as I'm shooting, and then we'll do a quick recap. We'll go down and check the target out after we're done. Okay, here we go, 5 rounds. Okay guys, just to be clear, my point of aim for this is going to be the bottom corner of the center red diamond. Okay, here we go, 5 rounds. This is kind of funny. It's almost exactly like the 55 grain. I had one that was a little off, and then the rest of the 4 were all full on hole. All right, so let's go down and check these really quick. I mean, we saw them on camera, but what the heck, let's go down there. I'm gonna turn this camera off. I'll turn on my iPhone, we'll walk down there. Okay guys, so I just shot those 5 rounds. And the funny thing about this is the performance was almost identical to the 55 grains. I'm trying not to compare the two. They're 2 different rounds, but again, we have one off, and then as you guys saw, here's the GoPro. That's how close I had it. So I trusted the round for sure. And yeah, that's 5 rounds. Again, very similar. Okay guys, let me break this down and we're gonna move on to the ballistic testing. 10 feet, 2 shots, 1 bear, 1 through loose clothing, per FBI protocols. Critical defense rifle, 73 grain, FTX. Here we go. Fire in the hole. Nailed it. Nailed it. Nailed it. All right. Okay guys, so first glance at penetration, we did definitely get a lot further with the 73 grain than we did with the 55. We obviously still have a bunch of fragmentation, temporary wound cavity, and the permanent wound channel. We got some tumbling. It does look like the main projectile is a lot more intact than what we saw with 55 grain. And at first glance here, I mean, we're gonna go back, we're gonna take these things apart. But what I'm seeing here through the bare gel is on my side over here, we're at about, we got about 2 7/8 of an inch to the end of the block. This is a 16-inch block. That means that we are over 13 inches of penetration with the 73 grain, which is a lot better than what we were seeing with the 55. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put another block in front here. I'm gonna put 4 layers of denim in front of this guy this time. And then we'll put another round through it, through the denim. Okay, here we go. Fire in the hole. Nailed it. Dead center. Clear. Fire in the hole. Nailed it. Dead center. Nailed it. Dead center. Okay guys, as you can see here, again, this one actually did not penetrate as far with the 4 layers of denim. We still have a bunch, you know, not as much fragmentation as we had seen originally with the 55 grains. So it does look at first appearance that these 73 grains are holding their mass a little bit better. If I take a quick look here, I don't know, I'm going to flip this. I don't know if you guys can see this. Maybe this has got a better view of it real quick. We are going to take these back and tear them apart and do the whole 9 yards on these. So, but I do want to give a quick look here. So yeah, 73 grain on this one. I can look in here and I can see that the bullet is way more intact just from looking at it here. It did tumble, and we're right at about 12.5 inches right here as we go in. So definitely second one through 4 layers of denim also showed great results. Okay guys, so that basically ends the field portion of the testing for this round. I'm going to head back and we're going to take a look at these rounds. I'm going to extract them and we'll finish up there. All right, let's go. Okay guys, we're back from the range and the indoor portion, which is actually kind of nice because I was able to hit these with a heat gun a little bit and get them a little clearer so we can see what's actually going on here before we measure them and cut them open. So that's the game plan for this portion of the video. I'm going to move fast on this as well too. I'm just going to give you my general impressions of both of the shots, and then we're going to take some measurements and see exactly what the space to expansion and temporary and permanent wound cavities are, along with the final resting place of the projectile. Then my plan is I'm going to cut these apart and I'll do some quick measurements. I'm going to get the expansion diameter of the final projectile, and then also kind of see how many pieces I can recover out of each of the blocks. So that's basically it. So with that, the first one that we're going to look at here is the shot that went into bare gel. And again, I'm trying not to compare this to the 55 grain FTX that I tested in the other video, where it behaved a lot more like a frangible round. My general impressions here with this round being the 73 grain is that it behaved a little bit more like a hollow point and not quite a frangible. I mean, you guys can see here, we definitely had pieces of the jacket flying off, but it looks like for the most part, it's really kind of limited to the jacket. Now, it might change a little bit. I'm sure we do have some lead particles that broke off. So I am really excited to see, and maybe excited is a strong word, but how much less fragmentation we actually have here. I think we're going to be able to recover a lot more of the rounds. That's just my guess. I could be completely wrong too. The other thing that's really super noticeable here, obviously, is we got a lot deeper penetration too. So we passed that 12 inches, which is the requirement of the FBI. So I'm going to get the exact measurements here for both of these in a second. But that's my general impression. A lot less frangible, you know, less pieces breaking off. It's mostly contained to the jacket, deeper penetration. And, you know, of course, that goes with that is more mass in the projectile that was retained. So, okay. With my general impression out of the way, let's actually start doing some measurements in shot order. All right, I'm going to try and stay out of the way of the camera. This is going to be a little tight because I got a nice tight shot on here, so you might see me moving around here a little bit. So I'm actually going to work from the top, maybe, would be good. So I'm looking here, and we have exactly about an inch of space before we actually start the expansion. And I'm going to measure up the top here. And the temporary cavity lasts for about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5 inches is about what we're seeing. So we've got 1 inch and then 5.5. And then the final length of penetration that we got is actually, due to some tumbling, I am actually seeing 13 1/8 of an inch at its maximum depth this way. So we really did get some decent penetration, well past the 12 inches. We did get some tumbling in around, and I'm looking here over the top. I do see some fragmentation of lead particulates basically in this area right here where we had some breakage. But for the most part, much better pattern. Not as wide of a dispersion though, too. That's the other thing. Let me take a look at that here really quickly. We're about 2 inches. It's kind of hard. There's optical illusions going on here with the camera, so you're just going to have to trust me on this. But this is a 6-inch block, and about 1/3 of it, 2 inches of it, is that temporary cavity there. So that basically wraps up the measurements here. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move over, switch blocks, and I'm going to go over to the one that was tested with 4 layers of denim in front of it. So let me grab that one, I'll switch it around, and then we'll start cutting them. Okay guys, so let's take a quick measurement here on this one. So what I'm seeing is it looks like we started expanding a little bit sooner, like right around 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to get up on top on this one too and get some readings. So the temporary cavity, if we measure that out, we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5.5 inches in length. The overall length is we are right at 13 inches, thanks to some tumbling of the round. So again, well over the 12 inches of the FBI test protocol. So the 73 grain looks like it behaves very, very well when you think about penetration. It also looks like it retained a lot more of the mass. We do have some jacket separation here in the 9 to 11 inch range with some cutting that's occurring there too from those pieces of the jacket. Overall, I am seeing a couple of pieces of lead particulate here. Of course, the dark part, why this one's black, is because we saw that flash from the diesel from the synthetic gel when we had that huge expansion of the gas, and it just burst and blew it back out and was very spectacular looking, but not very realistic. It wouldn't happen in human flesh, I don't think. Oh, I guess the only other thing I want to look at here too is the overall width of the temporary cavity here that was left behind. And it is a little bit narrower than the bare gel, and we're looking at about 1 inch and 9/16 in total height right there. Again, this is also a 6-inch block, just to give you a frame of reference. I know it's a little hard. Sometimes these gel blocks give off optical illusions, so you have to be really careful when you measure them. So that's basically it as far as the measurements. But I am glad that we were able to come back, take a look at these inside. I was able to hit them with a heat gun and get them cleared up a little bit so we can get a better look at what actually happened with the round before we start cutting it up. Which brings me to the next point. That's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to stop the camera. I got 2 blocks here. It's going to take me a while to get these all cut out. And then once I get them chopped up, you're going to have to trust me. I'm going to put them into 2 piles. I'm basically going to put the 2 rounds. I'm going to keep them separate, and we'll measure them also in shot order. Okay, let me stop the camera, and I'll be right back. Okay guys, so I've dismantled both gel blocks, and here on the left we have the bare gel example, and here on the right that would be the example that went through 4 layers of denim with everything I've pulled out of it. My general impressions are, overall, I think that the main projectiles did retain more mass, obviously, than previous testing with the critical defense rifle rounds. I do think that they clearly still have a lot more breakage and fragments than I would consider when you think of something where out of the same gels, where I've got examples of where I've pulled them out with really good weight retention and expansion. These are not that kind of an expanding round. I still think that they fall, even these 73 grains, I think they fall more in line with what you would consider a frangible round. So with that being said, I'm going to do 3 measurements. Again, I'm going to do the weight of the main projectile that was pulled, the total amount of shrapnel that was recovered, or fragments if you want to consider it that, and then I'm going to do a maximum diameter reading that I can get across each of the projectiles. Okay, so we're going to move very quickly on this. Let's get started. So let's take a look at the bare gel example first. If we bring this up, the weight of the main projectile is 37.12 grains. So it retained a little over half of the original weight of the 73 grains. All of the pieces, it looks like the weight's about 62.08 grains for what was recovered out of the bare gelatin test. All right. Okay, guys, this round looks to be about 12.17 millimeters at its widest for the expansion on the 73 grain. Okay, so those are our three measurements there. Now let's take a look at the round that went through the 4 layers of denim. So guys, before we measure the round that went through the 4 layers of denim, I did note that there was fewer number of fragments. They were larger in size, but also not to compare it to the 55 grain, but I did notice more denim that I had to pull out. So it looks like it actually grabbed more denim and pulled it in to the wound cavity than what the 55 grain version did. And then also there was quite a bit of fine particulate within the wound channel of actual lead itself that basically is that smearing. So I just wanted to point that out. It was something that I noticed as I was actually dissecting the gel. Okay, the main projectile that was removed comes in at 36.78 grains, so just a little bit less than what we saw with the bare gel. Interesting. There's actually, the total weight there is only 55.9 grains, so that's considerably less than what went into bare gel. So, so guys, anyways, the round that went through denim, I was able to recover a lot less than the round that went through bare gel. Okay, now let me measure the main projectile here, the diameter of it, in millimeters here. So actually 12.49, teetering between 12.49 and 12.5. So a hair wider than what we were seeing through the bare gel. So there's your stats, guys. That's the 73 grain performance. Obviously, it does not expand like a truly expanding round when you think of what we're used to when you hear the term expanding round. Okay, guys, let me do a quick wrap up on this round, and then we'll get out of here. Let's do a really quick wrap-up just to keep this thing short. So 3 tests out in the field. First one, chrono, I think we averaged 2606 versus the 2790 that's published for the round, which is actually, pretty admirable considering we're using a 16-inch rifle. That would be, like for a base test. Accuracy and precision, again, no issues here whatsoever at 25 yards. I was able to go hole on hole. It had really good performance, so I wasn't worried about that. Test 3, the gel block test. Now, this is where I think things get interesting, and I'm trying not to compare it to the 55 grain version, but I can't escape not talking about it, is that this round here, the 73 grain round, got a lot better penetration from my perspective. It was, both tests were very close to 13 inches, a little more or a little less, but very close to 13. And I think that that's a big difference between when I tested the 55 grain. So for me, when it comes down to it, if I saw both of these rounds on a shelf in a store, and I had to pick, and I only had $20, and I said, okay, which one am I going to go for? Am I going to go for the 73 grain, or am I going to go for the 55 grain? I would definitely, every day, choose the 73 grain version based off of the testing that I've accomplished. That's my own personal opinion. So, other things too, just to recap, I don't consider it a fully expanding round, the 73 grain version either. It behaves more like frangible round, but we did get a nice, ball. I think it actually retained a little bit better shape with that penetration. So that's basically the wrap up on this one. The only thing I do want to note is I did not go as deep. I didn't pull out the calipers and measure the rounds and compare them to a TAP 75 grain in this video. Maybe that's something I'll do for a different video. But for the purpose of this one, keeping it short, concise, and getting that data out there as quickly as possible, I kind of omitted that portion of it, which is actually a great segue. So if you guys are interested in seeing the 55 grain testing of the same critical defense rifle, I'll put a link at the end of this video, and then also in the video description, so where you guys can jump over and take a look at that, where I go into a little bit more depth on some of the differences between it and the TAP round and stuff like that. So, but not for this one. So that's going to wrap it up. I hope you guys found it somewhat informative, useful, entertaining. Put up with my TAP jokes. throughout the video, and you know, I appreciate you guys. So I like taking everybody along for the ride, and you know, sharing what I learn first person. So that's my MO. So if you guys like this and you want to see more of it, just, you know, drop a like, or, you know, I'd appreciate a subscription, and then you guys will get notified when I create more stuff like this. So that's it. Thanks again, guys, and until next time, stay safe.